Venezuela's opposition has begun collecting signatures for a referendum to oust President Nicolas Maduro. They want snap elections as the country deals with a major energy crisis. Droughts have dramatically reduced water levels at a hydroelectric dam, which is a major power supply. The government has already imposed a 2-day work week on public employees in an attempt to cut down the consumption on electricity. Now let's get more on this from Stephen Gibbs in Caracas. Stephen, violent protests have erupted across regional areas of Venezuela. Tell us what happened and what people are protesting for.
Yeah, this really started erupting seriously about 36 hours ago. What were people protesting about? Well, there are really two things going on in Venezuela at the moment. One is serious shortages of basic goods. So it's completely normal for people to have to queue for several hours for things like pasta, for milk, for butter, for meat. And at the same time, there's an electricity power problem going on, and power cuts are being imposed, and particularly in the state of Zulia, which is apart from anything else, the hottest state in Venezuela. So in a place where you can't use your fan or your air conditioning for several hours. Finally, it seemed on Tuesday night, particularly, people's patience broke and there was wide-scale looting, protests, roadblocks. People were attacking particularly the offices of the state electrical companies. A lot of frustration being vented after a long time in which people have been quite surprised that that hasn't happened because, as I say, it's really been for several months that this country's been in a very, very difficult situation.
Yeah, looking at some pictures here, it looks like there's a lot of scenes of desperation. And Caracas has been spared from the rolling blackouts. From what I've read, many Venezuelans feel that the districts are suffering for the benefit of a heartless capital city. Why is Caracas spared, and how problematic is this?
Yeah, I think this was a pragmatic decision on the part of the government for two reasons. One is Caracas is where the bulk of the people live. And if you have the sort of problems that we've just been seeing there in for example, that was in Maracaibo in Zulia, if you have that on a wide scale in Caracas, it's kind of all over, is the assumption for the political control that the government wants to have here. Also, if you cut the power for several hours in the administrative hub of a country, there are knock-on effects of that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There are people who think fairly that this is completely unfair, that the districts, the regions of Venezuela are having to support the sort of greedy capital, which continues to have its lights blaring and its air conditioning on, and it's of course where the government is. So yeah, it's a problematic decision, but there is a logic behind it, probably.
Okay, and just a quick third question, if you don't mind. Experts say a lack of planning and maintenance is to blame. Does the opposition's attempt to cut short President Maduro's mandate stand any chance of success, do you think?
Well, any opposition in any country in the world, if you're facing a government that is trying to rule a country with the highest inflation in the world and the biggest recession in the world and an inability to provide power for its people, violent levels of violence sort of unprecedented anywhere else in the world, you would have thought the opposition have a good chance. Well, yeah, there are a lot of people that are angry and are going to have a go at through this constitutional ways of trying to revoke President Maduro, but it's not at all easy because most of the power remains in the government's hands.
Right, Stephen, thanks very much for that. Stephen Gibbs in Caracas there.